My Moto Guzzi Daytona has got a preload adjuster, a hydraulic unit, and it was leaking under here. So this is a short video about what you find in here, and I put a new O-ring and solved the problem of that leakage. I didn't find anything on the internet about this, so I've made this video to help you if you are having a similar problem to me. This is the preload unit unbolted from its mounting here. And this is actually after I've made the repair, and you'll see in the videos that follow that there are quite bad markings on the barrel here where it's been taken apart before. There is a screw fitting here with an O-ring in there, and that O-ring doesn't move, so it's quite reliable. But when you screw this, there's an O-ring that keeps the pressure on and pushes it through here and up to the shock absorber so that it moves the spring down for preloading, and the O-ring in here has been leaking. And you'll probably see why, because I think it may be that the previous person to begin here put that O-ring in and it got damaged in the process. So here's what happens. This is the preload adjuster for the rear suspension in my Moto Guzzi Daytona, and this is the piston which screws in there. However, when I put that O-ring into this groove here, it gets bitten off because this is not a very nice chamfer here, it's quite sharp. So what happens is you screw this on in here, and it gets bitten off. And I've tried shimming 0.05 mil and so forth and not had a success. So I've made this part up in my lathe with rather a sharp end. That fits on here. I'll put the O-ring and that'll pre-compress it, and then when I screw that in I should get that coming through, and as I keep screwing it this part will get pushed out because it just fits against the metal part in the cylinder inside. Let's see how that goes. Just a postscript on this O-ring compressor collar that I made. It's actually tapered, so this is a wider entrance and it gets tighter as you go through, which means if my finger represents the piston going in here, the O-ring gets in a little bit tight there and it gets compressed as you work the piston through the collar until it's in position at the other end. So this is the unit reassembled, and before screwing this part back on you can fill it up with fluid quite quickly and then put all this on and fill it up more slowly. I find a spike going through the small holes here is quite good for pushing the fluid through. The spike goes up and down quite easily, but then suddenly there's quite a bit of resistance as the air's out of the system and you know you've got it full. And I used white out here in order to be able to show the relationship between the position on the adjuster and what happens on the collar, which you can't see at the moment. The collar at the top of the spring, which pushes the spring down for preload. So if we look at that, you would have the same picture, and I put a couple of marks here on the shock absorber. You can see my spring's a little bit rusty on the surface there, but when you put the seat on you don't see that at all. So if I now compress this down to the next point, I can see that the collar on the shock absorber is coming down, and you'll see that more clearly as I move down to the next point. You can see this white spot here is being covered, and even more so, and finally when I go down to this amount, it goes all the way, and there's no leaking after a week or so. So this has been a success in repairing this unit. So here's Giovanni, and Giovanni used to bottom out on bad bumps because there was no preload adjustment, and now everything works quite nicely. What a pleasure. Thank you for listening.